Shout out Sniper T on the beat.
Tamara to the break of dawn is on the rise, with life on the forefront of the mind. So line for line, you can ride this brain train and you can change your station without even touching the dial. So relax, stay a little bit, but listen for a while. And whether you're bumping this in the whip or in a business fit, it's a meeting you won't want to miss. A meeting for a meal to feed the soul with words for the mind. So sit back, enjoy the ride. Time to take off, it's time to fly. Cause Tamara to the break of dawn is on the rise.
Hey y'all, hey, it's me, Tamara. Hey, Tamara. Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome to the show. If you're new, thank you so much for tuning in. New episodes drop every Thursday, so come on through one more time for the one time. All my regular supporters, thank you so much for listening, continue to rock with me, etc. I appreciate it. And hold on, I gotta take a drink real quick. All right, if you're watching, you probably noticed that the background's different. So I'm in a different location this week. But of course, no matter what I'm doing, no matter where I'm at, y'all gonna get content, you know what I'm saying? Which, anyways, so if the sound quality isn't the same, I apologize in advance. Everything seems like it should be on the up and up, but you know what I'm saying? I won't really know until I'm done recording. So let's see what else. If you're not, you should totally be following me on social media. Dang, I ain't even got my thing up on the screen. If you're watching, hold on. Bam, there it is. TamaraTheDon.com is where you will find all my social media, blog, podcast, YouTube, merch. What else? My company, you know what I'm saying? So everything is on there. But yeah, definitely follow me on Twitter, Instagram, like the Facebook page. So you know what I'm saying? We could communicate on the social media, on the interwebs. You feel me? Let's see what else. Oh, weekly podcast shout out. So this week, shout out to Doug from the Struggle Plate podcast. He is this week's podcast shout out. Sheesh. I listened to his show, so his his description, it's so funny. Anyways, okay, I gotta go there. So like whenever I say little, I always kind of correct myself because I know it can be taken as shade, although that's never how I mean it. But you know what I'm saying? I got to clarify because folks be out here, not really him, but just, you know, people drag stuff out. Anywho, the Struggle Plate podcast breaks down songs every Monday that focus on an artist's passion, pain, and pleasure. And not only do I listen to the show, but I also had the pleasure of being a guest on the show and got to break down. It just seems like a lot, like my glasses just seem off. There's just a lot going on, but break down one of my most relatable Drake songs, you know what I'm saying? So I'm going to put the link to his overall show website, but then I'm also going to put the link to the episode that I was a guest on. Shout out to him for having me on. It was a great convo. And like I say, yeah, one of my most relatable Drake songs is the song that we chose to break down. So this week again, just kind of off the dome. It was supposed to be a whole different type of thing going on, but you know what I'm saying? I can always talk about my life. Nothing will ever stop y'all from getting content. You feel me? So couple of things I want to talk about, and I always in my mind feel like the episode is going to be a short episode when I don't have a lot to talk about, like already planned out. But then again, y'all know I be rambling, so we'll see what happens. Okay, so it's been it's like a very interesting week, couple weeks, season, whatever right now, where I just feel like when I first started the show, one of the biggest things that I have said that was not a strength of mine is consistency. And I feel like through discipline and just being more goal focused rather than focused on my feelings, I do feel like I've grown in that. But I feel like I'm in a season now where it's kind of like I'm learning how, like, what that means when you don't have control over certain circumstances or just life, you know what I'm saying? So just like as you see, I'm recording in a different location, couldn't help that. And I had to just do what I had to do to make it work and still give y'all content. And so it's kind of like the consistency, kind of like the beauty of the structure, but then the freedom therein. So the structure is every Thursday an episode needs to drop. And then with the blog now, every Monday at noon, a blog will publish. Now, the freedom, because I am very much still a free spirit. The freedom within that though is that, I mean, it's my show, it's about my life and the ways I'm trying to grow. So I could talk about whatever I want to talk about. And then same thing with blogging, like, so that's where the freedom and the free spirit. So I could have asked somebody, I could have asked, I know if I would have dropped in the group chat, is anybody free to record right now, somebody would have hopped on. But I decided to just go ahead and do this solo because there is stuff that I got to get off my chest, just to, what's kind of on my mind or whatever, because I was supposed to be actually recording with a guest right now. And so what was I saying? Oh, so I feel like this, it's just an interesting season because I feel like I'm being tested in, are you really, are these really your goals? Because I'm very much, like I said, goal focused in what I do, how I do what I do, etc. And so working out, for example, it is very interesting trying to work out right now because the scenario, like the situation that we're in right now, means that, like, today I had to work out in front of my youngest with her in the same room as me. And it was interesting because normally I like to work out by myself because if I'm dying, you know what I'm saying, I want to die by myself privately. And it's so funny because initially what I told her is kind of like, hey, be on your phone and don't watch me or whatever. Cause I can't remember how I said it. Like, I don't want to feel whatever. I can't remember what word I used, but what she said, which, and she said it very respectfully, my kids don't be talking to me crazy. She was like, well, I'm not really worried about what you're doing. So if you feel some type of way about me being in here, like that's kind of on you and not on me. And at first I was kind of like, who the fuck? You know what I'm saying? Like, who she thinks she talking to? But then it's like, when I really think about it, she's right. Because a lot of times in life, people may not understand your journey, your goals, what you're doing and why you're doing it and why you choose to move the way you move, because they don't understand your purpose, whatever, you know what I'm saying? And so my takeaway from that, which is funny, it can be applied to so many different things in life, is that I just need to worry about what I'm trying to focus on. So the goal is to stay consistent with my workouts. I am seeing progress. Oh, that reminds me, I gotta post my workout stuff. I kind of forgot about that, but I'm seeing progress. I'm seeing my clothes are getting bigger. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm showing y'all. That's why if you follow me on social media, you'll see I'm like, I don't know, moving my shirt around because my shirts didn't used to fit the way they're fitting now, as I'm staying consistent and seeing progress. And so if the goal is snatch 40s, you feel me, that needs to be my motivator. And I need to kind of be tunnel vision right now, where it's like, whatever the goal is, I have to get there. And it may look a little different. So today it looked like working out in the same room as my youngest. Sometimes it look like I prefer to work out in the mornings, but sometimes, like this morning, my oldest daughter had an appointment that we had to be there by 8. Now I excuse me, start work at 8:15 every day. So I had to kind of, adjust my schedule or whatever. But I don't have to drive anywhere because I work from home. So if I wake up at 6, have my quiet time, and then work out. I have time to do all that and kind of like just start work, not feel rushed because there's no traffic or whatever. But we had to drive a good 20 plus minutes away to her appointment. So that meant that either I was going to have to wake up even earlier, which 6 be pushing it sometimes, or today I had to work out after work. So there was a period of time where I needed to be very rigid and this has to be done this time. And you know what I'm saying? Super structured. But now I've reached this place where it's like, okay, well, what is the goal? And being a little bit more flexible, still goal focused. So the goal is still stay on the Snatch 40s journey, but sometimes I can't work out in the morning. So does that mean that if I can't do it when I wanted to do it in my mind that I shouldn't do it? Well, no, because I need to be goal focused. And so I could see growth in that, because before what it used to be is if I had it in my mind I was going to work out in the morning and I couldn't work out in the morning, then I couldn't work out. If I had it in my mind that I was going to work out in the evenings or whatever, I had it in my mind I was going to do that at that time. If I couldn't do it that way, or even right now, I was supposed to be recording with a guest and that was supposed to be the episode for this week or whatever, but that didn't work out. So like, should I like not record because I don't know why we didn't record? Well, no, that's silly because every week I have to have content drop. You know what I'm saying? Because no one's saying I have to, but it's my own thing that makes me feel a sense of accomplishment. You know what I'm saying? And where I'm being consistent. So I'm really in this interesting season where I don't want to say I'm being tested on if I really want to do what I say I want to do. I don't even know really what it is, but I'm having to be structured still but flexible, but then also a free spirit. And because I literally, whatever comes out this episode, I had nothing planned. But that's the beautiful thing, as I said little bit ago, about my show being about my life and the ways I'm trying to grow, because I'm a very introspective person. So me telling y'all what's going on in my life and me thinking deeply about it, it's not something I have to try to do. That's literally just how I am, period. Like anybody who talks to me can vouch that most of the time people are saying, oh my gosh, it's not that deep, you're dragging it out, because I just think very deeply about everything. But I mean, it is what it is. I'm never going to apologize for who I am. It's who I am, how I'm wired. It just is what it is. Side note, podcast happy hour. We still don't have a set date. We have a tentative date, so I'm not going to mention it yet because there's still time, because I usually don't like on social media promote it until the most of my live shows, until like the week before or whatever. But just a reminder that this month I'm only going to have one live show. Normally I do my own live show and then I'll be a part of the podcast happy hour on one of the other ladies platforms, which if you're not familiar with that, myself, Autumn from Lit Life Podcast, Chris from Shenanigans with Friends podcast, Audrey from Odd Tales podcast, and Jay from Jay's Quick 3. The 5 of us get together. We are 5 solo podcasters. We come together, put on a show, bring something from each of our own shows, but also just some of the foolishness and whatever of our friendship. And so we do that and it'll rotate on each of our platforms. So it started on mine for whatever reason. I don't even remember how that, and then so now we're starting our 3rd round this month. And since my birthday, Chris's birthday, and Jay's birthday are all in June, it's just this, you know what I'm saying, birthday extravaganza. And you feel me? If it actually happens on the date that we kind of tentatively discuss, it's gonna be just, but we'll see, because I don't know as of today when I'm recording, you know what I'm saying? But anyways, yeah, it's a very interesting season. It's also a season where, so like with my business, for example, I told y'all last week that Tamara the Dawn Incorporated is an official S corporation. So I went through the Room for Roots program, learned about the different business structures, and based on what I'm not, it's not even just what I'm doing now, although my podcast, blog, and everything will be under the umbrella of my company because why not? But because of what I'm doing now and where I'm trying to go and the plans I have, I told y'all I'm launching a brand, and then I'm started the professional development and coaching. Haven't officially started taking clients or anything yet, but that's, all part of it. So because of that, I chose the business structure that I chose based on the guidance of my business mentor and the CPA. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got professional advice before I decided, because I'm not going to pretend like I know a ton about business. I've already told y'all I don't. That's why I went through the program, so I could have a solid foundation for my business. And it's interesting how when people don't know, this goes back to when I was talking about people not understanding your journey and purpose. It's interesting when people don't know what you know. I've noticed a lot of people assume that they need to advise you, unsolicited advice, mind you, when you haven't asked for that. So if you follow me on social media, you saw that on really all my social media, Twitter, private and page, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. I posted my thing saying, like, I started Tamara the Dawn Incorporated, even though my name was spelled wrong on the EIN letter, but that's okay. You feel me? Because it's been corrected with the articles of whatever he said. I didn't do that. My somebody else, the CPA, did that. So he corrected it or whatever. So it's right where it needs to be right. But when I posted that and I said a S corporation, I did not say anywhere in there, hey, what should I do? I had already made that decision. I had already got the advice of the experts. And it's interesting how now one person, they just asked me, and I said, hey, this is better for the goals that I have. And they're like, okay, gotcha. So they didn't say like, you should do this. They were just kind of wondering why. And I could see why, because so many people just usually start with LLC. Like, I had never heard of any of the other business structures until I went through this program. But then I had somebody come on there and say, like, well, you can be a LLC and still get the S corp benefit. Like, I know all of that because I learned that, but that's not what's best for me and what I'm trying to build. So it's interesting how people could have no idea your vision, your goals, your purpose, whatever words you want to put there, and then try to advise you, unsolicited advice, mind you, well intentioned. You know what I'm saying? I know this person wasn't being malicious, but it's just interesting because and I kind of went to my business mentor and kind of laughed about how, whatever, like, I already went to the expert. So, but it's interesting because if I wasn't secure in what I was doing, because I've done the work that I've done through this program and also having a business mentor, it could be so easy to be swayed by people that say things to try to plant seeds of doubt, not intentionally, but it's kind of like, if I already did what I needed to do, you could have just said congratulations and that would have been sufficient, because this was supposed to be a celebration, not some unsolicited advice. It's interesting how often people do that, though. Now, I'm using this as a specific example because it's just kind of funny to me, but this happens a lot in a lot of people's life, which is why a few episodes ago I said stick to the script. That's part of it, because it's like, I know my goals, I know the vision that I have for my company, I know why I chose what I chose based on the information that was presented to me, also talking it through with my business mentor and also the CPA, because I actually was going to go LLC at first because that's all I had heard of. You know what I'm saying? But that happens a lot. And so it's kind of like, you have to sometimes be okay with I don't want to say walking alone, but in a sense, like be okay in standing firm alone, even if people don't understand and question and whatever. And you can choose to respond or not. Now, myself, I was just like, I'm aware, but this is what was best for me. I'm like, I wasn't offended or anything because, again, like I said, I know that person meant well, but at the same time, if I wasn't somebody who was secure in myself, if I wasn't somebody who was secure in also the support of the experts that I've surrounded myself with, because though I like to dive into things and figure it out generally, even with podcasting, I still got some advice and some sort of understanding of whatever, simply because it was something I had never done before. So having a solid foundation, we kind of talked about that in the YouTube video about having a solid foundation for your business. That's important. I'm realizing, mind you, this was not something I've always done because I would just dive into it and figure it out. But having a solid foundation is important because you are going to be tested, even if it's just something little like somebody saying something that could cause you to question why you did something the way you did. Now, me, it's not, but um, cause you to question why you did. And if you don't have a solid foundation, so let's use rock and then let's use sand. You know what I'm saying? If you're standing on sand, you're going to easily sink or fall or, be pushed over or whatever by the things that come to test you. Whereas if you're standing on rock, rock is not going to just break, or you're not going to fall through rock, or you know what I'm saying? So it's really important for you to just take be secure in what you're doing, be confident in what you're doing. And this is kind of why it's interesting, because I haven't ever really been a tell everybody what I'm doing person anyway. Usually the way things happen, like y'all that have listened to me know that I've been working on starting a company. Usually I don't even do that. Usually everything is, oh, by the way, I did this, depending on what it is, because a lot of stuff I just keep to myself because it's just not that serious. Now my kids will know a lot. The people that are like directly affected by what's going on in my life may know a lot, but like as far as the public is concerned, they're probably not even gonna know. And it used to be like maybe I'd say pray. I don't even really do that anymore. Not because I don't need prayer. It just kind of depends on what I'm going to make a public thing, because sometimes you can't be having all these people all up in your ear. Like too many voices can cause confusion, can cause doubt, can cause whatever. And that's where you got to be like kind of secure and okay with sometimes just the road less traveled. That's another way to say it, where it's kind of like sometimes you got to be okay with just doing your own thing your own way. And as long as it's not toxic or harmful to anybody, just be okay with that, even if people don't agree or if people don't understand, and be okay with not having to explain yourself. Like I just said, this is what was best for me. Now, if anybody, the people who, whatever, they just kind of were like, oh, okay, gotcha. But if anybody asked for any further clarification than that, I wouldn't have given them to them, because I don't owe you an explanation. And you got to be okay with not feeling the need to explain yourself to people either. Now, my kids, people like that, I'm accountable to that. So there are going to be people I'm accountable to them. There are going to be people in your life that you are going to be accountable to who, yeah, you got to explain certain things. But outside of that, just, strangers or just the public or whatever, nah, you don't owe them explanation. And I don't really care really what it's for. Like I tell y'all about my life because that's the premise of my show, but I don't really explain things either. Sometimes I just let people believe what they want, think what they want, whatever, and it just is what it is, because I know what it is. And I know at the end of the day, I can fully explain something to someone. I can tell someone exactly why, write it out. And the thing about when I write, as I am a very thorough communicator when I write, because I usually read through it to make sure it makes sense. Now, might be some typos in there, but the context and the point of the message is going to, be there. I could do all that and somebody still may have questions, misunderstand it, whatever, because a lot of people experience what you say, what you write, or experience life, through the lens of their experiences. So if my intentions are A, but their experience with people has always been B, they're going to default towards their experiences simply because that's how it is. And so I've kind of learned that in different interactions I've had with people over the course of life, but even more recently. And it's kind of like, okay. And that's a lot of times where I've become more nonchalant and don't try to over explain to like make people understand, because some people are just intent on misunderstanding you, not because they want to misunderstand you, but because, like I said, they're listening, experiencing whatever through the lens of their experiences. And that's where I've more recently really had to just be okay with a being the bad guy sometimes in somebody's story. And I don't know if I've said that on here, but I know I've tweeted it before. Sometimes you have to just be okay that people are going to lie about the way it happened. People are going to misunderstand and miscommunicate it to somebody else. I even have that with my daughters. It's so interesting because it's not intentional, but one of my daughters, you could say something, and the way they, I don't know, the way they interpret what I say is not what I actually said. And then they'll communicate that to the other daughter. And then the other daughter will come to me like, did you say this? Or just make decisions based off what they were presented by their sister. And it's incorrect. And it's not in that case at all malicious, but it just even confirms that sometimes you just have to be okay with being misunderstood. Now, in that particular thing, especially when it's you're communicating instructions or something like that, that's why I've had to say, hey, maybe because we see this as a pattern, maybe you should, clarify or whatever and not just go along with whatever, because there's been miscommunication. But it's kind of like you can thoroughly communicate. You can even say, have them repeat it back to you. And then when they, like the telephone game, where I don't know if you play that as a kid, where somebody would whisper something in your ear and then you would whisper what you heard in the next person's ear, and so on and so on and so forth. And you only get one time to say it, so you can't repeat it. You just have to say what you heard, understood, whatever. And every time I've played this game as a kid, even when I was an adult working with youth, and use that as kind of like a exercise for whatever, by the time it gets to the last person, it is always incorrect every single time, because people just sometimes don't either hear, understand, whatever. It's like you can hear somebody, but it doesn't mean you comprehend. And so because of that, these are like lightweight examples because I'm not really trying to get into specifics, but I just have had to learn that I have to be okay with being misunderstood. I have to be okay with someone may not like a decision that I make, or somebody may not like how I feel about something. And that's okay, because one thing biggest pet peeve, and I've talked about this multiple times on here, is if you're going to try to invalidate my feelings or try to tell me how I feel or tell me how I should feel, that's what you're not finna do. Because you could tell me how you didn't intend to make me feel a way, but to tell me that I shouldn't feel a way, no. You know what I'm saying? And so I've just learned to be okay with, you don't like I've told people, you don't have to agree with how I feel or how I'm going to do this or how I'm going to whatever, but it's not going to change how I feel, or it's not going to change this decision that I'm making. Like, I cannot be swayed, because it's almost like someone's trying to manipulate you, like especially when people try to get all loud or emotional, whatever, I'm usually like, okay, just because you're getting loud, and I'm always just pretty calm, you know what I'm saying? Just because you're getting loud, it does not mean you're right, that you're just loud. And it also doesn't mean I'm going to change anything because I am a very strategic communicator, because I'm a strategic thinker and I'm a deep thinker, and I don't ever try to, like, I used to not communicate how I felt about things because I just didn't feel like dealing with all that, you know what I'm saying? But it was very unhealthy for me because sometimes people would do the same thing over and over again and I'd be all mad. But how I'm be mad when I communicate that I was upset what they did in the first place, you know what I'm saying? And you can't have this mindset of, well, they should just know, because obviously they don't know, and I don't want to assume that people don't care. So I always assume, okay, you don't know. And then if I communicate to you and then you keep doing the same old, okay, then we got an issue because I've already told you and then you just don't care. You know what I'm saying? But if I don't give you the 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 service or the, I don't know, if I don't tell you what has offended me or what has whatever, then that's on me. I'm doing you a disservice because I'm not giving you an opportunity. You can't have these unspoken expectations. Like, you have to communicate your expectations to people and give them the opportunity to meet it. Then if they don't, then you know, kind of peep game and move accordingly. But you can't just, I mean, you can obviously do whatever you want to do, but I feel like it's very unhealthy to not communicate. Like, communication is super important. And so I've just come to this place though that I've had conversations that were super uncomfortable because I don't like to argue. I just feel like we should be able to, I say how feel, you say how you feel, and either we, depending on if we value the friendship or whatever, we come to some sort of agreement, compromise, or whatever, or we just agree to disagree. You know what I'm saying? But I cannot be swayed to, especially if what I'm doing is not harmful and it's really just this is how I feel about this, or this is the choice I made, especially if I tell you why I made the choice and you don't, again, you don't have to respect it even, but you just gonna have to deal with it because it's not gonna change. And I just don't care who you are. Man, it could be my mom and she could want me to do something that, now there has to be a reason that I'm not gonna do it, because usually my mom doesn't really ask me to do much, so usually I could do whatever. But I could think of a time where she wanted me to do something and there were specific reasons why I wasn't going to do it. And, you know, of course she didn't like it. I think, I don't know, she didn't really say. She was just like, you're not gonna, you know. And I was like, well, I told you I wasn't and I told you why. And then she was just okay. She was just like, okay. But I think my mom kind of knows me well enough to know that however she feels about it, I don't know, because she does respect it about, like, you know, she does know me well enough to know that once I don't want to say establish a boundary or am firm about certain things, I guess she probably knows that I've kind of made up my mind and I'm not going to change my mind, or I don't know. But I brought that up because if I'm gonna have that mindset with my mom, the most solid person, like, of course we don't always see eye to eye, blah blah blah. That's with all parents, but at the end of the day, that's been the most solid person in my life who, whatever I've needed, even if it's just listen to me talk about my hopes and dreams and whatever, my mom is always there. Like, me and my mom do have a good relationship. Just because y'all may not see eye to eye or whatever. Same with my kids. I would say I have good relationship with my kids, and I would say that because they tell me that. But it doesn't mean that we don't disagree, you know, and all that. But at the end of the day, if I'm gonna tell my mom that, the rest of y'all, you know what I'm saying? Like, y'all are nothing in comparison to my mom. So I've had those situations more recently where like I've had to tell people like, I mean, we just gonna have to agree to disagree because we're obviously not seeing eye to eye on this, and I'm not budging on this. I'm not stubborn. Uh, no, I'm not. I'm usually try to see things from other. So I feel like I could say that I usually try to see things from other people's perspective and this, that, and the other. But there's certain things where, especially when it comes to if it feels like it's not a healthy relationship dynamic or whatever, I'm not gonna change on it. You know what I'm saying? It's never harmful. It's never like I'm just trying to be malicious. It's usually based on something, whatever. And I am the person that I have been triggered. I can think of, man, one of my best friends. I've talked about him a bunch of times on here. Shout out to him. But I remember one time we were talking and I don't even remember what we were. Oh, wait, no. Um, trying to think if it doesn't matter. Whatever we were talking about, what I do remember is he triggered me. And it's so funny because I don't always remember what led up to stuff, but I'll remember like how I felt about something, or I don't know. But he triggered me. And so I reacted in a way that I reacted based on my triggers. And then I was mad. I was like, man, I'm not gonna be friends with him anymore, and this, that, and the other. Mind you, this was last year, so I was grown as hell. And I was talking to another friend about it, and she was kind of like, girl, like you're doing too much. And I had to think about, because thinking about who it was and thinking about what we talked about, now I remember, but I'm not gonna get into it because I'd be trying to keep people anonymous or whatever. So okay. But what we talked about, like, it wasn't anything that he hadn't done anything malicious at all, but I was triggered by something that had literally nothing to do with him. And then once I realized that, I actually went back to him and apologized, because I know that I respond, like, yes, I responded in a whatever way, and it wasn't even like I cussed him out or anything, but still, I will go back and apologize. So I'm not saying I'm just always right and I'm just this perfect. No, I'm absolutely not. This is why I'm on a whole show, my struggles, my weaknesses, the ways I'm trying to grow, etc. But I do strive to be healthy, and it's hard work because it takes sometimes having the conversations that I don't feel like having. Sometimes I'd rather just not answer the phone, not call them back, not respond to a text, just because, bruh, like, leave me alone. Not because they're doing anything wrong, but I just don't feel like talking about it. But that's unhealthy because that's me avoiding having those tough conversations. And I only feel that way when I know they're not going to receive what I have to say, and I know they're not going to like what I have to say. And it's not because I say it in a, like, petty or hurtful way. I'm pretty just a straightforward, direct communicator. Now on here, when I, you know what I'm saying, talk about it after the fact, sometimes, and I've said this, in the moment of most conflict, I'm usually pretty calm and level headed for the most part. But then sometimes I get mad after the fact at, man, I should have, like, I'm an overthinker. So something will replay through my head over and over. And I'll be mad because I'll be like, man, I should have said this. And it's usually petty stuff I should have said. So then I get mad because I wasn't petty. So then when I'm on here, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes I'm communicating it out of the anger of how I didn't respond when I talked to whoever. But I usually give y'all that clarification or whatever. And so it's not that I'm ever really like malicious or whatever. It's just, if I don't like something, I'm gonna tell you. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm doing you a disservice if I don't. But not everybody's okay with that. And so again, I've had to be okay with being the bad guy sometimes in somebody's mind in their version of the story. And it just is what it is, because you're not going to please everybody. Even my kids have their reasons why they feel like I did or said whatever. And it's not necessarily my heart or my intent, but they took it how they took it. And we got to have that conversation. You just got to be okay with that. And, not be out here people pleasing, because that is very toxic to yourself, because it's just such a lack of boundaries and people will take advantage of that. You know what I'm saying? It's a process. I'm 40, and sometimes, side note, it's wild to me. This has literally nothing to do with what I was just talking about. So let me finish that thought. I have to sometimes remember, like when I'm talking to my kids and stuff, that I'm 40 and they are. Who's about to walk in here? Nope. Step out. I'm almost done. Whoever that is. I told people to let me know when they were coming back. Oh, maybe they did. Oops. Okay, that's my bad. Let me hurry up and wrap it up then. Okay, so but I have to remember a lot of times that they are you know what I'm saying? What are they? 17, 19, and 21. So it's like the way I think at the age of 40 is definitely not going to be like. I remember Kayliana had told me before, she likes to learn and figure it out on her own for some stuff. Now she will tell me when she wants my advice, but I've had to learn that. And so then what I was going to say, sidebar, before I get up out of here, is it's wild to me that, so my little brother and sister just had their birthdays last month. Cedric's was May 26th. Anisha, that's my youngest sibling. Well, technically not, because I have another sister whose birthday is a couple days after mine. So out of my mom's kids, I'll put it like that, she's my youngest sibling. And it's wild to me that I'm 40. I'll be 41 this month. My birthday is June 27th. You know what I'm saying? Yes. But I'll be 41 this month and they're not even 30 yet. Like, that's just wild to me. They're 26 and 29. So that's just crazy how. And then I have a 38-year-old brother. So just the span of age range that we have is just crazy, because I'm heading deeper into the 40s and it's like they ain't even touched the 30s yet. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, one of my children is back. So I'm gonna go ahead and get up out of here, because I don't, if there wasn't video and they weren't gonna walk right past, I wouldn't even care. But we don't need all that. So thank y'all so much for tuning in. Make sure you're taking care of your mental health. Do what you got to do with that. Make sure you're taking care of your emotional health. Like, be honest about your feelings, journal, do whatever you got to do. See a therapist even. Make sure you're taking care of yourself physically, spiritually, and having healthy relationships. Woo. As always, I appreciate your support. Appreciate y'all listening to me process my life. And I will talk to y'all soon. Bye.
Ladies and gents, this concludes transmission. Tune in next time for a whole new edition. Another adventure and mission to share, be heard, and clarify the vision of this whole new world for...